Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Ask TLC Zoom show. This month, we're talking about New Year, New Horizons, embracing a fresh start. Of course, this is our opportunity, the first of every year, to do this. Dr. Jim Deitch cannot be with us today, and he sends his regrets about that. He is attending a celebration of life, but he helped me plan this, so I left his name on here because you will see some things throughout the session that are from his thinking and his viewpoint. So when you're starting fresh, there's really more than one approach. There's the traditional approach, which is you set a resolution. And a resolution is a firm decision to do or not to do something. And there's another approach that people are talking about a little more this year, and it's having a theme or a central topic for what you want during the year, and then letting your plans and goals come from that. So either approach works. It's just what works better for you. A theme is just like a new take on the old idea of having a resolution, and it provides that focus. Here are some examples of resolutions. So spending one day a month with my grandchildren. I actually put that one on here because I did that when my grandchildren were little. I decided that if I just had a plan for every month, then we would all know what to expect. And it was so rewarding for both them and for me. And just having that as a goal really helped, because if I didn't think about that schedule, then I wouldn't be as intentional about it. The next one, sort through the papers in my closet for better organization. You notice I didn't say the papers in my entire house, because one of the ways that we need to think about this is a bite-sized thing, something that it isn't going to overwhelm us. Or commit to losing 20 pounds or maybe 5 pounds. These are some concrete things, and of course they're going to take steps to accomplish. Join the gym and exercise 3 days per week. I like this one because for me, it helps to have a certain number of days in mind so that I don't just keep putting it off and putting it off. Here's one, not gossip about specific family or friends. Do you ever find yourself listening to gossip or being a person who talks about somebody else? Well, that can be an unhealthy thing, and it could be a good goal for somebody. You might want to watch, just while we're going through this, for things, if you don't already have ideas of your own, things that might work for you. And here's another one, letting go of toxic grudges. Grudges really only hurt you. They don't hurt the other person as much, although they could if they affect the relationship. But the reason the word toxic is in there is grudges are just something that kind of drag you down. They're negative. Better to have a positive approach. Here's one, quit smoking or limit alcohol intake. And, they recommend to think of things that you can actually change your identity, things that you can express your identity or make part of your identity. Like you might think of yourself as a non-drinker or a non-smoker if you're really trying to quit completely. So little habits can lead to big changes. If you choose something that's attractive, easy, and satisfying for you, then you figure out from there what steps you need to take or what kind of outside support you might need. And here are some examples of themes. So you could have a theme in more than one area of your life. You might have a relationship theme or a personal health theme, but the theme is going to provide the focus for the entire year. And we'll be going into that in detail a little later, but here are some of the ideas. Be more courageous about trying new activities. So if you're someone who just feels like it's a hard thing to do to get out there and try something new, think of it as, I'm going to have the courage this year to get out and try some new things. Or you could have an intention, like, I intend to take better care of myself. So when you set that theme, you might not be saying specifically what you're going to do yet, but you know that you have in your mind what your intention is. And that goes a long way later on when you choose your activities. If you say, is that going to help me take better care of myself, or is it not going to help me? Or you could say, I want to reflect more and celebrate the small wins on an ongoing basis. I just want to remember, and maybe I'll think of something every day, some little thing to celebrate. Reconsider relationships that aren't working. Here's another one. Do we want to be bogged down by relationships where maybe someone is very negative, or it feels one-sided, or we're just not getting something out of it? How much time do we really want to spend with people when we feel like that around them? So we might have an idea to just reconsider that and take a look at our relationships. Are they satisfying? Are they good for us? We can practice being non-judgmental to ourselves. And how can we do that? Part of it is self-talk. What do we tell ourselves? Do we tell ourselves, oh, you're so stupid, I'm so stupid, I did that, or I just never get it right? Well, it's going to be much more helpful for me to say, I made a mistake, but that's not who I am. I'm going to move on from here and try again. And that's going to get us a lot farther. Or we could have something like eating healthier. And that's pretty broad, but we might come up with a theme every month. This month, I'm going to eat more vegetables. Next month, I'm going to have more fruit in my diet. The next month, I might cut out a lot of fatty things. Anyway, you might be able to just take each month as you go throughout the year, but have a theme of eating healthier, cooking at home more, perhaps. Be a better spouse or partner. There's another great big one. There could be so many ways. And we could start by asking our spouse or partner, how can I be a better spouse or partner to you? Because we may think of ways to do that, but they may not be the things that that person really cares about. So it's a good thing to just take a look at that. Be willing to listen and try different things. Now, this last one is dear to my heart. We can think about decluttering our house, but this one's decluttering your schedule. And by that, I mean, what if my schedule is just so full of so many things that I just feel overwhelmed when I look at it? I can hardly even look at my calendar without feeling overwhelmed. So we're going to go into a little more detail on that one later about how you could approach decluttering your schedule. Do you know that that nearly 80% of New Year's resolutions fail by mid-February? Which is, so they say about 40% of people set a New Year's resolution, and out of that, nearly 80% fail. But why is that? So Jim and I had a talk about this, and we thought we would approach this from, you may need more of a roadmap, not just a resolution or a theme, but a roadmap for how you're going to get there. So you need to follow your yellow brick road. So now we can't say, when we look at these characters from The Wizard of Oz, I know you're all familiar with that movie, at least most of you probably are. We can't say that yellow brick road was always easy. Things happen along the way. There's trials, there's tribulations. It's going to be filled with life because life happens. But a roadmap helps you be more mindful, which is saying that it's worth the time to think through what you want. What's the gap between where you are now and where you want to be? And we're looking at how to get from one to the other. And you can be more intentional with a roadmap because you can figure out what triggers or invites the behavior you want. Like that, exercising 3 days a week. If I chose that to do, what would trigger me in a good way to do that? And what rewards would make that worth repeating? So am I going to need to feel like oh, I'm losing a little weight, or I'm a little more toned up, or I'm stronger and I can lift things better. And it also, a roadmap helps you be more accountable because you can kind of see what the things along the way are, and you can judge, well, am I doing okay? Am I going to need some support? But what this says is that you can be the designer of your life. You can set up your own roadmap. And we design and plan so many things. Why not our own lives? Why not that? So how do you create a roadmap? Again, Jim and I talked about this, and we were thinking, what is a roadmap? What does it look like? So say first thing you do is reflect on the past year. How did you do over the past year? What are some things that hopes or plans that didn't go as well as you wanted them to? What would you like to work on? That might help you do that. And then you choose your theme or resolution. It's a really good idea to know why you want this goal or mindset, why you want this resolution. And it's helpful to examine your own reasons because that makes it more personal to you. If you know why, then you're going to be a lot better at figuring out how to have a roadmap to get there. So then you figure out the first step and then 2 more steps. You don't have to have the entire thing planned out right now. You might say what I'm going to do in January and then what I'm going to do in February, what I want done by 6 months. Then set up your supportive habits and systems. You know, sometimes it's going to be so much more impactful if you just tell somebody. If you have a buddy to talk to, like a resolution buddy, or as Jim says, a dog to walk, even a dog to walk that you can talk to while you're walking. But anything that will encourage you and give you a little accountability, there's something about saying it out loud that actually makes it more real and makes you more accountable. Gee, I told my sister I was going to do that, so maybe I really better do it. And then realize it takes about 60 days for a new habit to replace an old one. So be ready to be persistent. Start with those small chunks and build on them. Say, like, if you were going to increase connection with friends, you start in January by getting in touch with them, just to getting in touch. And then maybe in February, you want to set up times to talk or do things with them. Maybe in March, you want to meet a new friend, but you can kind of build on those smaller steps. So here's an example of a roadmap. And this comes from the theme that I mentioned, declutter my schedule. Why do I want to do it? So I want to do this because my time is overcommitted. I have too many things going on. I could fill each day about 3 times. So my step 1 is to figure out some things not to do. What are some things that make me feel too busy or too scattered or really aren't as important in the bigger scheme of things or don't fit in with what I want to do with my life? Then what things am I not going to do? Okay, and then the next step could be set aside days for no commitments. Maybe I'll have 2 days a week where I'm not going to do anything except things that I want to expand on, like my hobby of watercolor painting, or I want to become more of a reader. I am a reader, but I don't often think of myself that way because I don't find the time to read. And then step 3, think about what would bring me more peace and less clutter in my schedule. So try these things on my non-committed days and resist adding more clutter to my schedule because you can just replace one set of clutter for another set of clutter. The other thing I found effective in step 2 was just quitting working at a certain time each day so that then I feel like I have a little more time to myself. So that's an example of a roadmap. So that roadmap will help me if I follow this, it will help me declutter my schedule. Practice makes possible. So we're not looking for perfection here, but if we practice things, it's possible to achieve them. Now, this is a quote from my very own husband, David Hovel. He said that, and I just really grabbed onto that. Jim really loved these graphics of the guy trying to golf, and look at, he didn't even hit the ball. So practicing is what gets us there. Jim's. Now, all of this being said, we have our plans and our roadmap. We need to allow room for flexibility. Because, you know, they say life is what happens when you're busy making other plans. And so by allowing room for flexibility, what we do is let things unfold. So if we have an intention, some kind of intention, we need to allow it to unfold. We don't have to plan every step of it, but the fact that the intention is there is going to help us grab onto things that will fit. Let it develop naturally. Remember, you don't have to be in control of everything. You enable its progression, let it take shape, allow it to grow. You can foster its evolution, permit it to flourish, and encourage its natural course. That way you don't feel like you're someone who's just on some sort of strict guideline that you can't deviate from. You want to be sure that you let things happen the best way possible. What are some parts of yourself that you could draw upon? Now, in therapy, we have something that's called parts therapy. And I kind of used the characters from The Wizard of Oz to see what we could draw upon inside of ourselves. And the idea in parts therapy is we have all these things going on inside of ourselves, all these characters that we can draw upon. Now, the Cowardly Lion, he was overcoming his fears in The Wizard of Oz throughout the journey. And that you could equate that with anxiety. He was anxious and he was trying to overcome his fears. He was seeking courage. So we can ask ourselves, when have we shown courage before? And we can remember and draw upon that courage. The Tin Man, he loved others even without a heart. And that kind of represents restricted emotional expressiveness. So you can ask yourself, what makes your heart sing? What brings you joy? And then you can say, how can I build that into my theme for the year? If something brings me joy and I just am not finding time for it, what does that say? Maybe I need to build that in a little more. Now, the Scarecrow had low self-esteem. He didn't have a brain, but he was still intelligent. And so you can ask yourself, what valuable lessons have you learned? And if you can figure out some of those lessons and how to apply them to your life now, that will be helpful. Now, Dorothy was trying to return to a place of simplicity and truth after many challenges. And so you can ask yourself, the Dorothy part of yourself, what are your core values? What makes you feel at home? How can you build that into your life better? And then the Wizard, you could say, deep down, what do I really want? The Wizard was kind of like the therapist in a way. He helped each of these people, these characters, see that they had it already inside of themselves. He gave them symbols of that. And so the symbol of the heart, the symbol, and then they could realize, oh, I really do have this inside myself. And I threw in Toto there as the playful side. How can you be sure to include the playful side of yourself? Because we all need that. We really do. So Here's a little reminder that you don't have to make resolutions or huge decisions or big proclamations. You can just set some sweet intentions and take each day as it comes. If you nurture your sweet intentions, like you might plant a seed, water it, watch it grow into a flower, this is a wonderful way to practice self-care and increase your feelings of happiness and contentment. I hope you've gained some food for thought and that it will help you figure out your fresh start for this year and every new year to come.